We caught up with Samantha's team in Kliptown and sat in one of Lady Liberty's consultations to get a small understanding of what they can do for you should you find yourself in need of their services.
So when you apply for a protection order, it's important that you know that the protection order covers you and all the people that are in your house that are affected by the abuse. So you and your children, your grandparents, and anybody else who is in the home that is affected by it. It's also important that you know that because of the nature of the protection order, you can also lay a criminal charge against the respondent, who in this case would be your partner. You can do it at your closest police station, and then you'll be able to lay a charge. Obviously, the more information that you give to us can obviously sustain and support your protection order so that it's granted on the first application.
Welcome back to Face in the Crowd. We are chatting with entrepreneur Samantha Ngcolomba of Lady Liberty. As MD of Lady Liberty, what does your role entail, and then what are some of the services offered?
So the role question is a very difficult one to answer because as an entrepreneur you do everything. I'm the person that has to deal with SARS, the bank, finding clients, finding lawyers and striking partnerships with other organizations, as well as coordinating and managing a team, some of the admin that comes with it, but most of all, I suppose, client management and maintaining the relationships with some of our clients. So Lady Liberty has evolved in terms of structure and services. We started off as a project, literally. It was, let's see if there's a problem. Let's see if the problem exists as much as I think it does. And then I realized there are actually way more cases than we're able to resolve, even at present. I don't have adequate resource to reach the cases that are currently awaiting us. That's the first thing. So we started off as a mobile legal office, but now we're actually a social justice and advocacy platform. What that really means is we are advocating for social justice, and the community roadshows are now just one way in which we reach people. The second way is we're using technology. What we realized over time is all our women had phones, whether they're feature phones or smartphones, right? And Facebook recently awarded us with the Mobi site. So what that means is that we can upload all our content and the women can access the same information we would otherwise communicate face to face. They can access it via their phones. That's great, number one, because we reach more women without having to travel as extensively. But secondly, it's a way of us generating revenue as well. So we're communicating with the mobile network operators because that interaction that the woman has on the phone generates revenue for us. So I think it's about 20 cents per 20 seconds or something like that.
You're an entrepreneur. You are a black female, for that matter, operating in that space. I mean, what is your opinion on entrepreneurship in South Africa currently, and how do you solidify your role within that spectrum?
So it takes a lot of courage, mental and emotional strength, because you're fighting every day. You're either fighting yourself or you're fighting everyone else that's trying to disrupt your process in one way or the other. So that's the first challenge you're fighting. And sometimes it actually really bothers me when I hear on the one end, oh, the Constitution's the most amazing, supreme document in the land. Yeah, it reads very well. But go and tell that to a woman who's sleeping in a shack on the floor, her husband's abusing her, she has no money to actually even eat tomorrow. Tell her how amazing the Constitution is and understand what that really translates to the everyday person. So I think we have a great disconnect between our legislators, between government and the wonderful things that they say, but what it means to another person on a day-to-day basis. That's my first problem. But secondly, every day, entrepreneurship is the future. It's going to create jobs. But on the other hand, the same people saying that are the same people who won't give you, let's say, funding, for example. And I mean, funding is not the only thing entrepreneurs need. I actually think what entrepreneurs might need more than funding is an opportunity to sell our products and our goods. A business that's not invoicing anyone I promise you it's a matter of time before that business collapses. You can get funding, but if you're not funding ready, you can just lose those millions within a week, right? But if we were to get opportunities to invoice, first of all, but to be paid on time, then I can create those jobs, then I can deliver better, then I can serve more people. So again, there's a disconnect between the theoretical expectations on how wonderful entrepreneurship is versus the realities that entrepreneurs face on a day-to-day basis.
You mentioned earlier about having a very strong support structure. I mean, who are some of those family and friends that you've come to rely on?
So first of all, God, for me, I really believe that there's a God and he has a plan for me. And you know, when I mentioned that sometimes this feels a bit like a burden, it feels like it's something that was planted within me and I have no choice but to pursue it. One of those cliche destiny type things. So there's that. So sometimes I'm literally like, if you're going to put something this big in my heart, you have to make it practically possible for me to see it through. So I pray a lot, I meditate, and I try and read quite a bit. So that's my first source of strength. Then I have an amazing husband. He's really supportive, and not supportive in the sense that it's like, oh yeah, let's just, you know, everything's going to be okay. You know, here's a cup of tea. Sometimes he says, look, let's get it together. Let's sort you out, take a walk, go on holiday, do what you need to, but let's just sort it out and come back, which forces me to just sort of be strong and keep the journey going. But then I've met some friends along the way. You know, Lionel's been an amazing source of support. We basically work together. So his passion's really media, people, financial literacy and that sort of thing. But he believes in the vision. So when sometimes I hit a bit of a snag, I have someone to say, oh, today's one of those days, you know, one of those CV searching days. And another new sort of friend has been Ngcolomba. She's absolutely amazing. She's passionate. She loves people and she just genuinely wants to make a difference. We're both oftentimes just a little stuck with resource, but we literally just sit, put our heads, hearts and minds together and say, what can we do with what we have?
Well, as always, we caught up with the ones who know her best. Take a look at this.
My opinion on Samantha is that she's a dedicated lawyer. I first met her on, it was an article that she put on the newspaper Sunday Times about her passion to take justice deeper to the people. That is where I contacted her because I've got passion also as a court manager in the whole of Soweto to really take justice deeper to the people, not only during office hours but also off hours, like on weekends, because that is what she's doing.
My opinion of Samantha is that Samantha is a woman of wisdom, somebody who's actually, she's somebody who's a hard worker, very committed to her cause, which is actually helping women with her legal knowledge.
Samantha has a very infectious personality, and what kind of maintains my relationship with her is how driven and passionate she is about her work. We work in an industry and in a sector that's extremely difficult, and we face a lot more challenges as small businesses, especially working with the tax bracket that we're working with. But she's always so passionate about what she does. She always puts her heart and her soul into it, even when it's difficult, even when you feel like giving up. She's always a person that I know I can always count on to kind of keep us going in the work that we do, because it can be very traumatic, and taxing even on your own emotions. So Samantha's the person that I go to even when I face organizational challenges. She's the one person that I know understands fundamentally the challenges that our organization faces, but also vice versa. She also can confide in us about the things that she faces, and we kind of are able to find solutions together.
She's a very hardworking woman. She's passionate about the people, especially with regard to the profession that she's in as a lawyer. She's very passionate about, especially the vulnerable people, the women and children, that we really take justice to them. So and she's doing that for, let's say, non-profit, though she's legally qualified. So I can say she's that one special person that you can find in South Africa to work for nothing.
One is the fact that one has to be selfless in the course that they are actually doing. Two, you gotta be very focused in whatever you are actually going to do. Samantha is somebody who really doesn't like half-done jobs. She actually wants people to give 100% and more in whatever project that they're doing. So as a result, I would just simply say my greatest lesson is that you gotta be selfless and very committed to the vision that you are actually going to embark on. And those have actually been the greatest pillar for myself personally in whatever endeavors that I actually wanted to undertake.
The greatest lesson that I've learned from Samantha is to be able to endure, but also still maintain a sense of empathy in the work that you're doing. It's very easy to become detached, and then one client becomes like another, and one case becomes like another. But it's very important, if you're going to reach the people that you're going to reach, if you're going to have the impacts that you're hoping for, it's always important that you remain attached, that you remain engaged at all times.
What I've learned from her is you do have people that are ready to sacrifice their own time and their own professions for nothing. So that is what I learned from her. Young as she is, I think she's 32. You should be growing your profession at that age. You should be starting to build a family. But if you dedicate yourself to the people for nothing, that is what I call a passionate person who's dedicated in life of the people, especially the disadvantaged and the women in particular in South Africa that are very much on the end of being abused, in femicides and all this. So she wants to educate them to know what is on their disposal in terms of justice system.
I think my favorite memory of Samantha is when we went on the Orange Farm Roadshow. But before we actually did the roadshow itself, we went on a community engagement drive with her team at Lady Liberty SA. And we went into Orange Farm, and just to kind of bring awareness to the roadshow that was going to happen a week later. And we went there in our jeans and our caps and our t-shirts, and we went into the malls and the taxi ranks on a hot day in October last year, or was it November last year. And we went, and it was hot, it was sticky, but she maintained such a lively attitude and never say die attitude. We went into people's homes, into their businesses, to bring them kind of the awareness of the legal roadshow that was going to happen the week later. And it was just so much fun to have like a mini road trip with the Lady Liberty SA, because she's also very hands-on. So even though she's sort of the vision bearer and she's in management and she's leading it, but she's very much on the ground.
My favorite memory is when I contacted her, she immediately called me and then said that let's meet, because I think she wanted a breakthrough to the Justice Department. I think it has been for a long time. But being contacted through the article to say that I've seen your article, I'm at Justice, then to her it was just an outstanding moment where she said, no, this is a breakthrough. Then we started our project of contacting each other, meetings. How do we go forward in terms of the project of taking justice closer to the people? So our first meeting was the greatest moment.
When she was crowned Woman of Worth by L'Oreal this year on the 7th, I think it was the 7th of April, and that was actually just the highlight of it all, because I just realized that her work is actually beyond her, and as a result she just needs to really make it a point that she undertakes this with great appreciation more than anything else.
I would really like to encourage Samantha to continue the work that she's doing through Lady Liberty SA, because there are not very many people that are willing to make the emotional and financial investment that she has in her business. And it's very encouraging, even for us who are starting out in the business and are sort of treading our own path. We sort of look to her for her guidance and her leadership. And similarly, those are my words of gratitude, because she's kind of the shining beacon in this very dark, treacherous kind of space that we find ourselves in.
I would like to give her more energy that she mustn't give up. The way that she has taken, the goal that she wants to attain will be of good importance to the people of South Africa, especially the women that she concentrates on. I think she's also doing masters in specializing on international law or whatever. So she must just pull on. I know she got strained sometimes. We talk a lot. There were some times that she wanted to give up because she was not getting financial support or whatever. But I told her the goal that you have set for yourself is very important. You will break through. We will break through our project. We will get financial assistance and do what people need in our locations.
Samantha has actually been a pillar insofar as my life is concerned. But secondly, I just wanted her to actually keep on doing the great work that she's doing and keep the vision of actually making sure that Lady Liberty reaches as many women as possible. But apart from that, I just wanted to know that whatever cause she's actually had impact on, it's actually bigger than her. It's beyond what she actually had envisioned. And as a result, she must just realize that it's not her will, it's God's will, and she must just rely on God at all times. And I'm hoping that through everything that she's doing, because as we are celebrating her today, I just want to say her authentic power should just come out more alive as it has always been, and that is what actually has drawn people into her life.
Always interesting getting that other side of a person from the ones who know us best, right?
Very.
In terms of the bigger picture, where to from here for yourself and Lady Liberty at large?
The big picture long-term goal and vision is, number one, being self-sustainable and not funding dependent. We're in the unique space of being a social enterprise, meaning we can tap into existing funding channels and at the same time we can generate our own revenue. So I never ever want to be funding dependent. That's the first goal. Secondly, we have to cross African borders. The problems that we're dealing with in South Africa are not unique to other African countries. So this has to be a Pan-African solution, and who knows, it might go beyond Africa, but that's really the first sort of target.
It has been an illustrious journey, to say the least. Along your journey this far, I mean, what are those top 3 pearls of wisdom that you'd like to impart to those watching today?
First of all, do your research. I assumed quite a lot of things. I created a solution without necessarily investigating from the people whom that solution was created for. Okay. So do a lot of research in the industry that you're getting into. What are the compliance issues? Be right legally, tax and that sort of basic stuff, but also make sure that in the solution, product or service that you're creating, it's relevant, number one. It's needed, and if they're already existing similar or exactly the same, what differentiates your goods or services from what's already in the market? That's number one. Number 2, you cannot ride this wave alone. You just can't. And that means from a personal perspective, you need to have some kind of support. If you don't have family, friends, plug into other community, a church, or whatever it is that works for you and what you believe. But then also strategically look at aligning yourself with organizations that are either complementary to your work or even with competitors. So for example, you might have a really large competitor who you find yourself bidding for the same tender against, right? Excuse me. If you can contact that competitor, make yourself known to them, you might find that there's a way in which, for instance, a government law or policy forces them to have a small business as part of that tender. So you could be their first thought because you're already working in the same services. So that's number 2. You can't do it alone. Just strategically look at ways of partnering with people for the business side, but also personally. But number 3, have fun. Just have fun. This journey is hard enough without, you losing your sense of who you are, right? And having fun also just means ensuring you're pursuing the right passion, the right dream, the right journey, and right for you. You know, our journeys are not the same, our dreams aren't the same, our destinies aren't mapped out the same. But the minute you figure out what your purpose actually is, then it's easy to create something that allows you to have fun while pursuing it.
Unfortunately, we've come to the end of the show. Thank you so much for your time today. And thank you for continuing to inspire women, empower women. Thank you for your service.
Thank you so much for having me. I really hope that, you know, this inspires someone, encourages someone, or, you know, is just useful information. So I appreciate the platform too.
That's all we have time for today. Of course, that was Samantha Ngcolomba of Lady Liberty and CSI Boutique. I think the lesson I've walked away from this experience is that knowledge is power. We welcome your feedback, so do interact with us on our various social media platforms. But from myself, Liesl Wilson, and the rest of the team, it's goodbye for now.